Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling a topic that's, well, front of mind for so many people: how to actually build wealth.
Right, and we're doing it by digging into a really fascinating source, that widely shared tweet storm by Naval that caused quite a stir online.
It really did, and it feels like it offers a more structured way to think about creating wealth, something that feels maybe a bit more actionable, less about just pure luck.
Exactly. So many people feel stuck, right? Or just overwhelmed by money stuff. And this framework aims to provide a clearer path, almost trying to factor luck out of the equation.
Okay, so that's our mission today. Unpack this framework, understand the crucial distinctions it makes, especially between wealth, money, and status, and pinpoint the key skills and mindsets involved.
And that starting point is vital. What is the difference between wealth, money, and status? Because getting that clear might just shift how you approach everything.
Let's define them then, based on the source. Wealth first. What is it, really?
Yeah. So according to the source, wealth isn't just your bank balance. It's defined very specifically as assets that earn while you sleep.
Okay, things that generate income without you actively trading time. Like what?
Think businesses, maybe rental properties, intellectual property you've created, investments, things that work for you, generating income or appreciating, even when you're not actively working on them.
Right, the income generating engine itself. So then what's money?
Money is just the tool. It's the medium of exchange, how we transfer that wealth or, pay for groceries. Necessary, obviously, but it's not the source of the earning power.
Got it. And status.
Status is different again. It's about your rank, your position in the social hierarchy, who's up, who's down.
And here's where it gets really interesting. The source draws this sharp line. Wealth is presented as a positive-sum game, but status, that's zero-sum. Why is that distinction so critical?
Oh, it changes everything about how you interact and what you prioritize. Wealth creation, in this view, is fundamentally positive sum, meaning we can all potentially get wealthier together. If I build a successful company, yes, I benefit, but I also create value for customers, I create jobs, maybe I develop new technologies others can build on. The pie gets bigger.
We create more value collectively.
Exactly. The more cool stuff we build, the more houses, the more solutions, the more potential wealth there is for everyone. We build things together.
Okay, so that's wealth. Contrast that with status.
Status is inherently limited. It's hierarchical. For me to claim higher on the social ladder, someone else, relatively speaking, has to move down. There's only one president, only one gold medalist.
Look, in politics or sports, yeah. Winner and loser.
Precisely. It's a zero-sum conflict over a fixed amount of ranking or recognition.
And the source connects this to our, evolutionary past.
Absolutely. Back in hunter-gatherer times, before stable economies and easy ways to store value, your status within the tribe was literally life or death. Access to resources, protection, mates, it all hinged on your standing.
That programming is still in us.
Deeply. But in today's world, focusing too much on status can actually hold you back from building wealth.
Which is why the source says pretty bluntly, avoid status games.
Yeah.
Why are they so damaging to wealth creation?
Because they make you combative. They often make you angry, focused on comparison, on putting others down to elevate yourself or your tribe. You start seeing everything as a win-lose battle for social position.
And that zero-sum mindset kills collaboration.
Totally. Wealth creation thrives on positive-sum interactions, on building things together. Status games turn potential collaborators into rivals, based on ego, not on the actual task of creating value.
So, thinking about your own life, maybe at work.
Yeah.
Why is it useful for you, the listener, to spot when you're in a status game?
It helps you diagnose conflict. Is this argument really about the best way forward, or is it about who's in charge, who gets the credit, who feels slighted? Recognizing that difference saves you enormous energy.
And helps you redirect towards more productive stuff.
Exactly. Focus on creation, not just hierarchy.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly. Let's talk about luck. So many people just assume getting rich is, well, winning the lottery or being born into it. This source pushes back hard on that.
Yeah, it argues that while, sure, random blind luck exists, the kind of luck that builds lasting wealth is different. It's more about becoming the kind of person who can recognize and seize opportunities.
Like being prepared for luck.
Kind of. Naval apparently said something like, if you dropped him on a random street in an English-speaking country with nothing, he's confident he could be wealthy again in 5 or 10 years.
That's a bold claim.
It is, but it highlights the idea that it's a skill set, something repeatable, not just a random event.
So it's less about getting lucky and more about engineering your own luck or being sensitive to it.
Precisely. The source mentions different kinds of luck, drawing from Mark Andreessen, I think. There's luck from just sheer persistence, hustle, stirring the pot, trying lots of things. That increases your surface area for lucky breaks.
Okay, basic probability.
Right. But the more powerful kind is the luck that finds you because of who you are. Because of your unique skills, your specific knowledge, your reputation, your mindset. You develop this sensitivity to opportunities others completely miss.
You become a lightning rod for certain kinds of luck.
That's a good way to put it. And this ties into those quotes the source uses.
Like, extreme people get extreme results.
Yeah, from Sam Altman. And Jeffrey Pfeffer's, you can't be normal and expect abnormal returns. It suggests you need to operate differently, think differently, to get results that are outside the norm.
Which is the opposite of what the source calls playing stupid games to win stupid prizes.
Right. Which often means those status games, especially online, pouring energy into Twitter fights, chasing likes, getting outraged for points.
The prize being temporary attention.
Exactly. Temporary status that has zero long-term value for wealth creation. It's energy wasted in a zero-sum pit that doesn't build anything lasting.
Okay, so if that's what not to do, what's the big how not to build wealth point from this source?
It's stated very clearly, you are not going to get rich renting out your time.
Ouch. That hits home for a lot of jobs. Why is that view so absolute?
Because when you rent your time, your income is fundamentally tied to your inputs. An hour of work equals X dollars. There's a ceiling on hours, and you're generally replaceable.
Your output is directly coupled with your input.
Right. There's very little scope for your unique insight, your creativity, your judgment to massively multiply the value created beyond the time you put in.
The source uses some good contrasting examples here.
Yeah, think about a lumberjack. Inputs and outputs are tightly linked. They swing an axe, wood gets cut. Even the absolute best lumberjack might only be, say, 2 or 3 times more productive than an average one.
Very linear relationship.
Very linear. Now, contrast that with, say, a software engineer. Their value isn't just lines of code per hour. One brilliant insight, one piece of elegant code could create something like, well, Bitcoin or Google search. Billions in value from maybe not that many hours of input.
Well, another engineer could work for months.
And if the code isn't useful or doesn't ship, the value created is zero. The inputs, time, effort are massively disconnected from the potential outputs, the value created.
That's the key, seeking that disconnection.
Exactly. You want to find work where your unique abilities, especially judgment and specific knowledge, can be amplified, disconnected from the sheer hours you put in.
Which brings us neatly to the core principles the source lays out for wealth creation. It calls it the stack.
Right. These are the key ingredients that work together. Specific knowledge, accountability, leverage, and judgment.
Let's break them down first.
Yes.
Specific knowledge. This isn't textbook stuff, right?
Definitely not. It's defined as knowledge you cannot be easily trained for. If it can be taught in a standard course, or if AI can do it easily, it's probably not specific knowledge in this sense. It's what makes you unique, less replaceable.
So how do you find or develop it?
Usually by pursuing your genuine curiosity, your innate talents, things that feel like play to you but look like hard work to other people. It's often found at the fringes, the cutting edge, where things are still being figured out.
And why is it so valuable?
Because it's scarce and hard to replicate. That allows for much higher potential returns, especially when you add leverage. The source notes that being right 90% of the time with leverage pays off hundreds of times more than being right just 80% of the time. Small edges in specific knowledge get magnified hugely.
And sometimes you don't even realize you have it.
That's a great insight from the source. Naval mentioned his mom noticing his business sense as a kid because he was always analyzing pizza places. It might just be how your brain works, what you naturally gravitate towards before you even think of it as a skill.
So building it comes from doing apprenticeships.
Primarily. On-the-job training, experimenting, deep immersion. Not just formal schooling alone. Follow what genuinely fascinates you, what you do for its own sake.
This connects to the skill stack idea, too.
Yeah, instead of aiming to be the absolute #1 in a super competitive field, it's often more achievable and maybe more valuable to be pretty good, say, top 25% at 2 or 3 different things.
And combine them uniquely.
Exactly. Like the example, combining accounting, persuasion, and maybe understanding semiconductor manufacturing. Who else has that exact stack? It creates a unique niche with less direct competition.
Okay, next in the stack, accountability.
This is essentially taking ownership, putting your name on things, taking public risk for the outcome.
The upside seems obvious. You get the credit when things go well. Build your brand.
Right. Think of recognizable names. Oprah, Elon Musk. Their names carry weight because they took accountability. But the flip side is crucial. You also take the hit when things fail.
You bear the risk. Need a thick skin.
Absolutely. You'll be criticized, blamed. It's part of the deal. But without accountability, you rarely get significant upside.
And the source shows a clear progression here, linking accountability to wealth potential.
Definitely. Think about it. A day laborer is often anonymous. Low accountability, low risk, low reward. A general contractor takes responsibility for a whole project, manages labor, a form of leverage, has more risk, more upside.
Then maybe a property developer.
Takes on financial risk, capital accountability, and then maybe a tech founder takes on immense risk related to their specific knowledge, reputation, capital, everything, but with potentially unlimited upside if they succeed.
So for someone listening, maybe not starting a company right now, how can you increase accountability?
Look for ways to own projects within your current role. Put your name on results. Volunteer to lead something. Take responsibility for outcomes, good or bad. It signals capability and trustworthiness.
Right. Next up, leverage, the force multiplier.
This is critical. The source argues that basically all great fortunes involve leverage. It's anything that amplifies your judgment and effort without requiring a proportional increase in your own time.
And there are different types. Older types first.
Yeah, the permission-based ones. Labor, having people work for you. Powerful, but managing people well is notoriously difficult. And capital deploying money or assets, also powerful, but getting access to significant capital usually requires proving yourself first, building trust, which comes back to accountability.
So those require someone else's permission, essentially.
Right. You need employees to agree to work for you, investors to trust you with their money. But then there's the newer, potentially more powerful form.
Permissionless leverage.
This is where technology really changes the game. Two main types highlighted: code and media.
Code as leverage. Explain that.
Code allows you to build software and systems, essentially, an army of digital robots that can work for you 24/7, serving potentially millions of people, scaling almost infinitely while you sleep. Programming is learning the language of these robots.
And media.
Media, think writing, podcasts like this one, videos, newsletters, social media content. The key here is zero marginal cost of replication.
Meaning it doesn't cost more to reach the 10,000th person than the 10th.
Exactly. Once you create it, it can be distributed almost freely at scale. You don't need a TV network or a publisher to grant you permission to reach a massive audience anymore.
So how can you, the listener, start using permissionless leverage, even in small ways?
Start creating and sharing digitally. Write articles or blog posts about your specific knowledge. Start a niche podcast. Build a simple tool or website. Share your unique perspective online. Every piece of digital content or code is like a little worker bee out there, potentially generating value or attracting opportunities for you over time.
Okay, that's code and media. Now, the final piece of the stack, the one that directs all this power, judgment.
The source really emphasizes this. In an age of near infinite leverage, judgment becomes perhaps the most critical skill. It's about understanding the long-term consequences of your decisions. It's applied wisdom.
Why is it so important now, with all this leverage available?
Because when you're steering a massive ship, whether it's a huge company, vast amounts of capital, or software reaching millions, even a tiny error in judgment gets magnified enormously by that leverage.
Small difference in direction, huge difference in destination.
Exactly. Being slightly more right, having slightly better judgment, can lead to exponentially better outcomes. Conversely, bad judgment with huge leverage can be catastrophic.
How do you actually build good judgment? It's not just about IQ points, is it?
No, the source is very clear on this. It requires both intelligence and real-world experience having skin in the game. You can't develop practical wisdom just by thinking in an ivory tower.
So you need to act, see results, learn.
Precisely. You accelerate judgment by iterating frequently. Try things, make small bets, see what happens, learn from the failures. The feedback loop is essential.
And keeping emotions in check.
Absolutely critical. Strong emotions like the outrage you see everywhere online, or fear or greed, cloud judgment severely. The source suggests studying things like philosophy, history, even stoicism, to cultivate emotional detachment and gain a broader perspective. See things clearly.
So for you listening, building judgment isn't passive. It's about doing, iterating, learning from small failures, and actively working to make decisions based on rational assessment of long-term outcomes, not just gut feelings or emotional reactions.
It's about building an accurate mental model of how the world actually works, based on evidence and experience, not just how you wish it worked or how it feels in the moment.
Okay, let's pull some of these threads together. The source heavily emphasizes playing long-term games.
Yes, this isn't just about finance like compound interest on money. It applies to relationships, reputation, learning. Trust, for example, is built through repeated positive interactions over time, like playing the prisoner's dilemma game again and again with the same person.
Short-term win-lose thinking destroys that.
Right. Long-term thinking naturally favors cooperation and positive sum outcomes. Short-term opportunism often burns bridges.
And part of playing the long game is choosing who you play with carefully.
Absolutely crucial. The source advises partnering with people who demonstrate high intelligence, high energy, and, most importantly, high integrity.
Why integrity above all?
Because someone smart and energetic but without integrity is actually dangerous. They'll eventually use those talents against you or others. Look for signals in their actions, how they treat people they don't have to be nice to, like waitstaff. Actions. Not just words.
This also ties into avoiding the get-rich-quick mentality.
Definitely. Those schemes are almost always designed for the seller to get rich off your impatience and desire for a shortcut. Real wealth, built on these principles, takes time, patience, consistency. Be super skeptical of anyone whose primary business seems to be telling you how to get rich.
Look at how they made their money.
Exactly. Was it by actually building something using these principles or just by selling the dream?
And underpinning all of this is the need for continuous learning.
It's non-negotiable. The fuel for everything. The advice is simple. Read what you love until you love to read. Start where your interest is. Build the habit. Don't force yourself through boring stuff initially.
And focus on fundamentals.
Yes. Try to understand things from first principles. Go to the source texts, Adam Smith in economics, Darwin in biology, Feynman in physics. Understand the core ideas yourself, rather than relying solely on summaries or interpretations from journalists or academics who might have their own biases or haven't actually built things.
The goal being not being afraid of any book.
Kind of, yeah. Developing the confidence and ability to tackle complex ideas directly. The resources are abundant now, thanks to the internet. The real scarcity is the desire to learn. Protect your natural curiosity.
Any specific foundational subjects highlighted?
Microeconomics, game theory especially, understanding iterated games, and trust psychology, persuasion, ethics, viewed practically as long-term selfishness through building trust, basic math, and understanding computers and programming.
And the source emphasizes that doing is faster than watching.
Huge point. You learn much faster by trying things, experimenting, iterating, even failing small, than by just observing or repeating the same known task over and over. Embrace the feedback loop of action.
Okay, another key theme, valuing your time intensely.
Yes, the source stresses setting a high internal hourly rate for yourself. What's your time really worth? And then guard it fiercely.
Ruthlessly saying no.
Pretty much. Ruthlessly decline low-value meetings, tasks that don't align with your specific knowledge or leverage. Be too busy to do coffee for vague networking, while keeping your calendar otherwise uncluttered for deep work. Prioritize relentlessly.
And if you are seeking opportunities or connections,
Don't just ask for coffee. Bring proof of work. Show up with something valuable. You've already done a project, a piece of writing, some code, a well-thought-out proposal. It demonstrates competence immediately and makes the interaction much more productive.
okay, so we've got specific knowledge, accountability, leverage, judgment, long-term thinking, learning, valuing time. How does this all culminate? The source talks about finding your unique path, achieving product market founder fit.
Right, that's kind of the holy grail. It means finding that intersection. 1, a real market need exists. 2, you can actually build a product or service to meet that need. And 3, you are uniquely suited to do it based on your specific knowledge, your passions, your authentic self.
That's a complex alignment.
It's a multivariate problem, as the source puts it. Not easy to find.
What's the recommended order of operations then once
Yeah.
you grasp these ideas?
First, figure out what you should be working on that founder fit, where your unique strengths meet a real need. Second, surround yourself with the best people possible, smart, energetic, high integrity. Then, and only then, do you work as hard as you need to. The effort needs to be focused on the right thing with the right people.
And this idea of becoming the best in the world at what you do.
It sounds daunting, but the trick is to keep refining the definition of what you do. Narrow it down, combine skills uniquely until that statement becomes true based on your specific niche, your unique skill stack. You essentially create your own category where you are the best.
Which links back to escaping competition through authenticity.
Exactly. Nobody can compete with you at being you. If you lean into your genuine interests and unique perspective, especially when creating something new, you naturally move away from crowded, competitive spaces. High competition might even be a signal you're playing a stupid game. The masses are often wrong about where the real unique opportunities lie.
So build wealth by being more yourself, amplified.
That's a great summary of it.
Now, finally, the source does look beyond just the money.
Yes, it's quite clear. Money is presented as a tool, a very useful tool that solves money problems. It buys freedom from things, freedom from debt, freedom from doing work you hate, freedom from material constraints.
But it can't buy everything.
Definitely not. The source explicitly calls out 3 crucial things money cannot buy. Things you have to earn or cultivate internally. Your physical health, your mental health described as a calm internal state, peace of mind, and your close, loving relationships, family, true friends.
And cultivating that inner peace seems connected to external success, too, in this view.
It seems so. Being internally calm reduces the need for external validation, makes you less likely to get sucked into pointless status games and conflicts. It likely improves your judgment and allows for healthier, more fulfilling relationships. These things are arguably the real wealth.
Okay, so to wrap this all up, that core message from this deep dive into Naval's framework, there's that concise phrase.
Productize yourself.
Let's break that down one last time for clarity.
Okay. Yourself represents leveraging your authenticity, your unique specific knowledge, and taking accountability for it. Productize represents applying leverage scaling that unique self, your insights, your creations, so they can reach many people or command significant resources without requiring linearly more of your time.
So building wealth isn't just about learning a technique. It's fundamentally about integrating who you uniquely are with powerful tools of leverage and playing that game consistently over the long term.
It's making your unique identity and passions the engine, and then using leverage as the transmission to scale it effectively.
Which leaves us, and you, the listener, with a final thought to chew on, drawn directly from this material. If the ultimate point of accumulating money is to gain freedom, how do you make sure that in that focused pursuit of wealth, you don't end up sacrificing the very things, your health, your peace of mind, your deepest relationships, that actually make that freedom worth having?
That's the balancing act, isn't it? Something important to consider as you figure out your own path forward.